Hi there, folks. It's Brad, and Daisy is still with me. She's sniffing around here. That's my nephew's dog, and my hair's all crazy. This is my last day in Las Vegas. I'm leaving tonight, and I got a question on my previous video. So, as you know, since before your sun burned hot in space and before your race was born, I have awaited a question. And here's the question. It comes from Duke Ban Banerjee. Banerjee, maybe it's an Indian name, I'm not sure, or maybe it's a made-up name. Anyway, he says, I'll assume Duke is a he. One mind, in quotes, sounds a lot like the Hindu Advaita concept of Brahman, which is weird because I thought Buddhism teaches Anatman. What is the difference between mind and soul, Atman in parentheses? The Hindu concept of soul is the observer, and in non-dual Advaita we are all the same observer, the supersoul or Paramatman. Paramatman, I think is how you say that. If Buddhism doesn't have an Atman, the permanent ground of all existence, in parentheses, what is the one mind? Well, I'm going to answer that in a YouTube video. I'm not laughing at the questioner. It's just one of these great, huge questions. And there are probably a number of ways I could go about answering this. And at first, when I was thinking about whether I would answer this one on a video, I thought, well, I don't have my books here. I'm at my nephew's place. You know, I can't do a research. Hey, a truck going by. Okay, a truck just went by, so there might be an edit in there. But I was thinking I can't do my research because I'm not at home and I don't have all my stuff. And that would be one way to do it. One way to answer that question would be to go through the various traditional ideas of Atman and Paramatman and Brahman and self in Buddhist tradition and kind of say where the historical, how the split happened and why people do this and why people say the other thing. That would be one way to answer it. But since I don't have that available to me right now, I'll do it off the cuff, which I think is another valid way to answer this question. So one way to put it is that various traditions are just kind of stuck with the words they have. So if you want to go further afield, even further than the difference between the Buddhist concept of self, a jiko in Dogen's terms, and Atman, Paramatman, Brahman, and go further afield, you can talk about Christian mysticism, in which some of the Christian mystics will use words like Christ or God, and one can say that they are pointing to the same concept as Brahman in the Hindu Advaita Vedanta tradition, or Jiko self in the Buddhist tradition, or whatever tradition you have. I'm sure there's a lot of them out there. So one of the ways I was thinking about answering this question is in terms of synonyms. So there's just a synonym for something else. But as the questioner points out, it may have to do with concepts, this idea of the permanent ground of all existence and the observer and all that. What you have in various traditions in Buddhism is, there seems to me, okay, if you want just my dumbass opinion, to be a phenomenon that happens in almost all of these traditions, in which someone will have a genuine experience of something that is very difficult to communicate in language, and then she or he will try to put that into language, and depending on the nature of the person, what kind of a brain they're saddled with in this life, they may just explain it very vaguely and open-endedly, or they may try to kind of shore it up and make it into something more systematic that's, intellectually satisfying because it dots all the T's and connects all the dots. So in the Buddhist tradition, one of the things I've been talking about on and off here for the past couple of years, what did the dog just went over there, sniffed at something in the ground, and then ran across the yard. I don't know what she saw, but she seems calm now. Anyway, what was I saying? Oh, What I was talking about is the Yogacara tradition in Buddhism. So you have the Yogacara tradition in Buddhism, which is fascinating because it's one of these traditions where they took the raw experience of probably someone or some, school of individuals who had worked on a problem, meditated for a while, and then they try to figure it all out. And my memory is garbage, but you can look in my past videos where I've done this and where I've enumerated all their versions of. God damn, I can't even think of it off the top of my head. The whole Yogacara system is this. Jesus, I can't. See, this is the problem. I think I'm kind of stumbling across the problem right here. Is my memory's not good enough to hold the whole Yogacara system in my head very long. I have to go and look at a book and go, okay, yeah, it's this and this and this. It's Manos and Alaya Vijnana and the six consciousnesses. The sixth being brain as a consciousness, which is Manos. God, it's all complicated. Then you have the Hindu system, which has it Atman and Brahman and Paramatman and all this stuff, trying to describe the different levels and layers of concepts that one might have to go into in order to explain this stuff. Another way I thought of trying to explain this is what you get when you get the off-the-cuff answers, is like the old Ptolemaic universe. I don't even know much about the Ptolemaic universe. I did look it up 20 or odd years ago and thought it was fascinating, but it was a Greek concept of the universe where there's the firmament, and the sky holds various shells of crystalline, invisible shells that the stars are embedded in, and they move, and somebody, I think Ptolemy, had tried to arrange these out to make sense of what he saw in the sky. And then later on, people kind of refined that and came up with the concept of gravity and how there's no crystalline spheres and different things are moving, and that is also just a concept. Like, there is no gravity. This would be a true statement, and I think a scientist who was philosophical enough, or maybe had understood the tradition of Indian philosophy, might understand and might be able to agree with the idea that there is no gravity. Okay, gravity, obviously there is gravity because I'm not flying off into space, and we call that gravity. But once you call it gravity, you've put it in a box, and scientifically speaking, we're trying to put it in a box which works in such a way that we can use it to, predict, so that we can send a rocket to Saturn to orbit around and take pictures of the place, right? And if you want to send a rocket to Saturn to orbit and take pictures of the place, you have to have a really good theory of how everything works. But in the end, you have to admit that it's just a theory. It's just a theory, and this is kind of a dangerous thing in the world of internet, because people go, oh, it's just a theory, it means it's not true. Then they go, well, dinosaurs lived with Adam and Eve then, because evolution is just a theory. So you get into some sticky messes that way that you want to avoid. So you try to have a good theory, but in the end, it's just a theory. It's just how you're trying to talk about it. So in Dogen's terms, one of the things I was talking about in previous videos was I was noticing that in Japanese he uses different words that can be translated as self. The two principal ones, there are multiple ones actually, but the two principal ones I've noticed in Dogen is ware and jiko. And these are not technical terms like Paramatman and Brahman and all of that. They're just colloquial terms that people use to say self. But I noticed that when Dogen says ware, he's talking about the individual self, the sense of me being different from Daisy, being different from my nephew Ben, and being different from my wife. And, we all have a separate self in that sense. But then when Dogen uses the word jiko, he is referring to this kind of something more vaguely similar to the idea of Paramatman or Brahman in the Hindu Advaita tradition, or if you want to go that route, Christ in some of the Christian writings, some of the mystical Christian writings. And are they the same thing? Well, no, they're not the same thing. And we have to be careful of this. The problem is once you make a set of terms, then people get attached to those terms. And what we do in the Zen tradition, I'm saying we very, like big-headedly, like I'm part of the tradition, but I guess I am. So what we do in the Zen tradition is constantly trash it. That seems to me, if I look at the Zen tradition from a philosophical, the standpoint of somebody studying philosophy, you can see that over and over again, once a term has become there's too many people who think they understand the term, then the term has to be trashed and thrown away, and we have to come up with another word for it, but we're still referring to the same thing. The Great Koan about this is Gutei's finger, and as I said at the beginning, I'm not looking at any of my reference books, so I'm doing this off the top of my head. I think I got the koan right. Let me see. Gutei, whenever he was asked, what's the meaning of life, the universe, and everything, he's a teacher, and he would raise one finger. And then there's one of his students says, what does your teacher say about the meaning of life, the universe, and everything? And the student goes like this. And Gutei hears about that, calls the student to his chambers or whatever, and says, okay, what do you say about life, the universe, and everything? And the student goes like this, and Gutei, according to the story, takes a big knife out of his pocket or his sleeve or whatever and cuts off the kid's finger. And the kid's screaming and crying and going, what'd you do that for? And Gutei goes like this, and suddenly the kid gets enlightened. Now, I don't believe that Gutei literally sliced somebody's finger off. Knowing how things go in the Zen tradition and how deeply one feels what one's teacher does sometimes, if the student did this and Gutei just like slapped his finger away, subjectively that could feel like Gutei cut his finger off with a knife. So that's what I think really happened. But the idea is that the kid was just going like this, and he didn't know what this meant. He just knew that his teacher did this when asked what's the meaning of life, the universe, and everything. So he didn't really get it. And then once his finger was cut off and he didn't have that answer to give, then he understood it. That's kind of the answer to this question, and I know it probably doesn't sound like the answer, so I'm sorry, Duke, if that is your real name. Maybe your real name is Duke. Anyway, I'm sorry, Duke, if that doesn't sound like an answer to the question, but I think that's one of the best answers one can give to this question. So there you go. I know I've done this this topic before on this channel, so I'm going to have to title this video something else so to distinguish it from the last time I did this. But I think this is one of these questions you can answer over and over and over, and it's still worth answering again. So thank you for asking that question. Anyway, I'm going to go back inside and get ready. We're going to go see some museum of ghosts and things. It's a famous place. I can't remember the name, but we're getting ready to go see that. So I got to go do that. And I really appreciate your support. So if you want to support me, you can go to the URL you're seeing on the screen below, which is hardcorezen.info/donate. hardcorezen.info/donate. There you will find links to my PayPal and Patreon accounts. Those are my ways of making a living. That's how I got here to visit my nephew in Vegas, was from your donations, and I really appreciate your support. But as always, this is offered for free, so you don't got to donate if you don't want to donate. Anyway, Daisy, hey Daisy, you want to say bye to the folks? You want to say bye to the nice folks? Well, maybe you don't. Anyway, I'll say bye to you. So we'll see you later. Have a good time all the time. Bye.